The wedding was perfect. Until midnight. One guest was found dead, eyes wide, blood running from his ears. The groom, silent, unmoving, trapped in a coma. But the bride, she was gone. All that remained was her blood-soaked veil, still warm. Her name was Adizwa, flawless, mysterious, untouched by mirrors. Some say her eyes blinked sideways. Others swear they heard hissing when she smiled. No one knew where she came from. But the curse that followed her was older than the gods. Set in modern-day Lagos and steeped in ancient Yoruba legend, this is the terrifying story of the bride who wasn't human. They never knew she was a snake. Until it was far too late.
Samaboba Tales presents. It started in Duru village, a place most Lagosians believed only existed in rumors. Hidden deep in the wetlands near Bedigri, Duru was a name whispered, not spoken. Elders said the rivers there were never meant for human fishing. That the trees bowed not to the wind, but to something older. Something watching. Few dared to visit. Fewer returned. But out of that mystery stepped Adizwa, elegant, soft-spoken, and unnaturally beautiful. Her eyes had the shimmer of moonlit water. Her skin was flawless, almost too perfect. She arrived in Lagos with no parents, no past, no family history. And yet, in less than 3 months, she became the talk of high society. Adebayo Olayinka was one of Nigeria's youngest fintech millionaires, smart, polished, and deeply rooted in Yoruba culture. He wasn't the kind of man easily fooled. But the moment he met Adizwa at a charity auction in Lekki, he was transfixed. She doesn't say much, his best friend Femi had whispered. But look at her eyes. Like something out of an E4 storybook. Adebayo didn't care where she came from. She was stunning, polite, mysterious. She seemed to appear just when he needed someone. Within weeks, she'd moved into his Banana Island duplex. And within 2 months, he proposed, with a diamond ring flown in from Dubai. But Adizwa didn't smile. She just looked at the ring and said, "Are you sure your heart is strong enough for me?" The wedding was set for June 3rd, under the full moon. Yoruba elders from Ibadan, Ife, and Lagos Island were invited. But that week, strange things began to happen. 3 pigeons dropped dead during the engagement rites. The wedding priest had a seizure mid-ritual and shouted in tongues, "Well done, you've married a thing from beneath." Every time Adizwa stood near a mirror, it cracked, or fogged entirely. During her bridal photoshoot at Takwe Bay, a snake slithered out of her bouquet. Still, Adebayo wouldn't listen. "Superstition," he said. "She's just misunderstood." The wedding was a display of royalty. Palm wine flowed. Battered drums thundered. Celebrities, politicians, and chiefs danced in rich osook. Even the Oba of Lagos sent royal blessings. Adizwa wore deep crimson and ivory beads that shimmered unnaturally in the sun. Her gele was folded in a serpent-like twist. And around her waist, 7 strands of coral beads. Each one symbolized the river goddess. An old wife with a cute LR with grave in attendance gasped and dropped her kola nut when she saw them. "These are not beads of fashion," she muttered. "These are seals. Binding seals." When the priest asked if she accepted Adebayo as her husband, Adizwa leaned in close and whispered in a language no one recognized. In a very strange Yoruba voice, she uttered, "I will not consume you, if you truly love me." The audience thought it was poetic. But the priest began sweating uncontrollably. The night before the wedding, Adebayo's grandmother, Aya Agba Olayinka, a powerful priestess in her younger days, woke from a dream in tears. She had seen a serpent coiled around her grandson's heart. She called him immediately. Adebayo, my son, this girl is not human. I've seen her eyes before. Long ago. In Duru. When my own sister disappeared. Mama, please. Not tonight. Don't sleep with her. Don't let her undress in your presence. If you love your life, don't look into her eyes once the beads come off. Adebayo laughed and hung up. That night, Aya Agba packed her bag and headed for Lagos. She never made it. Her car swerved off Third Mainland Bridge. No driver. No brake marks. Just silence, and a single snake scale found on the dashboard. Adizwa and Adebayo returned to the penthouse. The city lights sparkled like 1,000 stars over the lagoon. The suite was draped in white satin and scented oils. She walked slowly into the room, her bare feet leaving wet footprints on the marble floor. Are you nervous? She asked softly. A little, Adebayo smiled. Good, she replied. Should be. He laughed, until he noticed the lights flicker. Then dim. Then die. The entire building lost power for 17 seconds. When the emergency lights returned, Adizwa was no longer wearing her wedding dress. She stood naked in front of him. Her body, glistening. Wet. Her skin had begun to change in patches. Small silver scales rippling like fish in a river current. Her eyes blinked sideways. She stepped closer. Her voice, layered. Like two people speaking at once. You promise to love all of me, even the parts you don't understand. Adebayo took a step back. What are you? He whispered. She smiled, her lips stretching wider than any human mouth. Then, slowly, she began to uncoil the first strand of coral beads from her waist. The wind outside began to howl. Something ancient had awakened. The moment Adizwa uncoiled the second coral bead, the air turned icy. Not from the AC, but from something unnatural. Adebayo stumbled back, heart pounding. Sua! Sua, stop this! What are you doing? Adizwa's voice echoed, not just through the room, but inside his head. Soft, but heavy like a river's current. I warned you. You said you loved all of me. Did you lie? She raised her hands, and for a brief second, they were not hands at all. Slender, scaly, and glistening like water-soaked skin, her fingers had split and stretched like serpent tongues. But just as quickly, they reformed. The room began to ripple, walls bending like waves. The bed frame warped. The glass windows fogged and cracked from inside. And still, the third bead loosened from her waist. Backstory: the curse of Okodo. Long ago, before Lagos became a megacity, the region of Duru wasn't just a village, it was a spiritual gate. The women of Duru were river priestesses. Daughters of Okodo, the serpent goddess of hidden waters. In return for protection, beauty, and power, every servant daughter was promised to the river. These chosen girls, called the Ioka, were born with both human and serpent blood. Forbidden from love. Forbidden from childbirth. Their only mission, serve Okodo and guard the secrets beneath the water. But centuries passed. The old ways faded. And one of the Ioka, Adizwa's grandmother, fell in love with a mortal man. She broke the covenant, bet a child in secret, and ran from the village. That child was Adizwa's mother. And Adizwa She was born with the full force of the serpent goddess's fury. A creature of beauty, desire, and vengeance. Back in the penthouse, Adebayo clutched a bottle of holy water he'd secretly kept from his grandmother's shrine in Abeokuta. She'd warned him, right before her death. The water will not save you, but it will reveal her true form. He splashed it at Adizwa. The water sizzled. Not like acid, but like fire hitting cold metal. Smoke rose from her body. Her tongue hissed, not in pain, but pleasure. Now you see, she whispered. Her lower body shimmered, and began to shift. Her legs fused. Her hips elongated. Her skin turned pale, glimmering with silver-white scales. In less than 30 seconds, the woman Adebayo had married was no longer fully human. She was serpent, goddess, punisher of broken bloodlines. From the hallway, Femi, Adebayo's best friend and groomsman, barged in, sensing something was wrong. Bayo. Guy, what's going? He didn't finish the sentence. Adizwa turned to him. Her eyes glowed white. She opened her mouth, unhinging her jaw wider than any human could, and hissed. Femi dropped to his knees. Blood trickled from his ears. His eyes rolled back. No violence, no blow, just the sound of her true voice. He died kneeling, face down, in the same room where he toasted them hours before. Adizwa looked at Adebayo calmly. Your ancestors stole from my bloodline. This isn't revenge. It's restoration. Just as Adebayo gave up hope, the bathroom mirror exploded. And out of the broken glass stepped the ghost of Aya Agba Olayinka, his grandmother. Draped in pure white. Head wrapped in cowries. Holding a burning Opa Oron, staff of the spirit realm, she shouted in Yoruba. Please, I beg you, Oko Odo's child. Leave my bloodline. Adizwa's serpent body recoiled. The coral beads on her waist flared red. For the first time, her voice cracked. She was the one who let me in, Adizwa said. She opened the path when she left Duru. I only came to finish what she started. Aya Agba slammed the staff to the ground. A crack split the marble. Light surged. Adizwa hissed. Then vanished in a storm of wind, feathers, and scales, through the wall, into the night. Aftermath of the wedding night. By morning, the news was everywhere. Lagos tech mogul's friend dies mysteriously on wedding night. Banana Island penthouse riddled with snake scales, blood, and ashes. Bride disappears after groom enters coma, mystery deepens. Adebayo survived. But he couldn't speak. He lay in a coma, his tongue split like a serpent's. Doctors couldn't explain it. Adizwa was gone. Not arrested. Not reported. Just vanished. But she left behind one thing. A single strand of coral beads, still glowing faintly in the broken sheets. Lagos 1 month later, Adebayo's awakening. The hospital room was cold. Adebayo's fingers twitched for the first time in a month. His mother screamed in shock as his eyes flew open. But they weren't fully human anymore. Slit pupils. Snake-like. Cold. Watching. The doctors ran tests. Nothing made sense. His vitals were human, but his heartbeat was slower, colder, calculated. His tongue flicked oddly when he spoke. The nurses whispered. Ko Esenian Enai. That one is no longer a man. The only word Adebayo muttered was Duru. Meanwhile, Deep in Duru village. Duru was no longer on maps. Surrounded by thick forests and broken dirt roads, the villagers believed they had been forgotten by time. But the sacred river still flowed. And beneath its dark surface lived something ancient. Something waiting. Adizwa walked barefoot through the forest, her coral beads glowing faintly with each step. Her skin now shimmered under moonlight. Villagers knelt as she passed. She had returned not as an outcast, but as the high daughter of Okodo. She entered the forbidden shrine, where the serpent goddess once communed with her chosen daughters. There, she spoke to the ancient waters. Mother, I have done as you asked. The bloodline of betrayal has been awakened. The gates are open. The river trembled. The water hissed. Then it is time to rise again, the voice answered from the deep. This world has forgotten us. Let them remember in fear. The prophecy of 7 beads. In ancient Yoruba myth, Okodo granted her daughter 7 coral beads. Each bead represented 1. Identity. 2. Desire. 3. Memory. 4. Power. 5. Flesh. 6. Soul. 7. Godhood. Removing the beads, one by one, unlocked their divine serpent nature. Adizwa had removed only 3 beads before she vanished. She now wore 4 remaining beads. But she wasn't done. To restore the goddess, the priestesses told her, you must awaken the bloodline in the city. Adibeo is the key. His soul is cracked. Use him. Back in Lagos, strange occurrences. Reports flooded in. Massive pythons seen crawling through Lekki drains and gutters. A preacher at Yoba Market went mad, screaming, the daughters are walking again. Women across Lagos began reporting dreams of rivers, snakes, and coral beads. One woman, Omalade, woke up with strange marks on her thighs, scales, like a serpent's pattern. And she'd never even been to the river. Something ancient was spreading. Adizwa had left Lagos, but her essence remained. Adebayo's return to Duru. Haunted by dreams of Adizwa calling his name, Adebayo escaped the hospital. His mind was unraveling, but he followed her voice through highways, forests, and silence, until he reached Duru. At the edge of the forest, an old blind man greeted him. You came too late. She's not yours anymore. She belongs to the river now. Adebayo pushed through. At the center of the village, the shrine glowed like fire under moonlight. The 7 Ayoka priestesses surrounded Adizwa. She floated above the water, the 4th bead in her hand. Bayo, she said softly, did you come to stop me, or join me? His heart thundered. Despite it all, he loved her. But he could feel the snake inside himself, too. Her venom had already entered him. I came to understand. The final ritual. Adizwa dropped the 4th bead. The ground shook. The trees bent. The river parted. And from beneath the waters, Okodo emerged. Not just a serpent, but a goddess made of many snakes, crowned in fire, eyes like lightning. The villagers screamed. Some knelt. Some ran. But Adizwa didn't flinch. Mother, she said, the world forgot your daughters. But I brought them back. Okodo looked at Adebayo. Do you love her, mortal? He didn't answer. He walked into the water, toward Adizwa, knowing he was losing his soul. Knowing this might be the end. Adizwa whispered. If you stay, you become like me. If you run, I'll still live inside you. So choose, Beo. Love me completely, or be cast forever. Ending, Lagos, 6 months later. Adebayo and Adizwa were never seen again. But in Banana Island, the river nearby has started rising mysteriously. Women whisper of visions. Snakes are no longer haunted. The market women in Baligan say killing a snake now brings death to your family in 7 days. And at Umoja festival, one dancer collapsed, foaming at the mouth, speaking in a deep voice. She has returned. Okoodo now walks among you. Then she dropped dead. Somewhere in Duru, the river still glows at night. They say if you go too close to the banks, you'll hear wedding bells. And a hiss. She was never just a bride. She was a vessel. A weapon of a forgotten goddess. And now, Lagos will remember what it tried to erase, that some bloodlines are better left buried, and some love stories are written in fangs and flames. What if someone you loved was hiding something ancient, something monstrous? Would you still stay? Or would you run? Tell us in the comments. Would you have married Adizwa if you knew she was a snake goddess? If this story gave you chills, hit that like button so more people can uncover the secrets of Duru village. Drop a comment below with your theory. Was Adebayo cursed, or chosen? Do the daughters of Okoodo still walk among us in Lagos? Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell, because more forgotten African mysteries, real legends, hidden truths, are coming. And remember, not every wedding ends in rice and music. Some end in silence and scales.